There we go. Now we're
Hi.
recording.
Ah, hi, this is Honey Gregory, and welcome to my channel. It's Perpetual Learning here, and I am the one doing the learning today because my good friend Bryan, the IT expert, is helping me launch my very first podcast or YouTube channel, whatever the heck you call this. And the reason I asked my best friend here, Bryan Parkinson from Knoxville, Tennessee, because he is always my guru that I go to whenever I have any kind of technical problem. Not to mention, I'm a big fan of his and he's a big fan of mine, and he's got his own podcast. And so I knew he would be like the perfect guy to have on my very first YouTube channel podcast thingy, whatever. See, I'm learning the lingo. So say hi, Bryan.
Hello. I'm a very benevolent judge. I don't judge too harshly. So
Hey, look, I even figured out how to do my
yeah, I
green
know.
screen thingy. Are you proud of
I'm
me?
yes, I'm sitting here marveling at that really epic background, and I have like nothing. So now, okay, hang on. I've got to do like a cool background now.
Okay.
So hang
I
on.
I spent so much time the other day trying to put together some really cool ones. Hey, it looks like Ant-Man when you're down in the grass. I love that movie, Ant-Man.
So we
It's
can
one of
be in
my favorite.
space. We can be in the ocean. Yeah, we'll go with the ocean. Why not?
Hey, yeah, everybody loves the beach, right?
It still doesn't look as cool as yours though.
Hey, mine looks like I'm just like chilling at home, right?
Right? It really does.
But even when you're chilling at home, you always have IT problems because even just now, like I couldn't figure out how to get my um earphones and my
It's a fitting
speaker to
first
work.
episode. It's
It's
a fitting first
crazy.
episode.
I know. I know. You know, it's
Imagine,
funny. It's kind of like
imagine.
serendipitous or something.
That's true. Imagine if your office looked like that. How cool would
Oh,
that be?
that'd be great. Hey, I got a question, Mr. IT man. So while this is recording, is whose face is on the video? Is it the person that is talking or both, or how does that work?
It's going to depend on the settings of Zoom. I'm thinking it's probably going to show both of us at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it'll, depending on how you set it up, sometimes it'll show just the face of the person talking,
Mm-hmm.
and then other times, it'll do kind of like the both thing. So,
So
um,
did I set it up right? How do I know if I set it up right?
I'm assuming you did.
Don't assume anything when you're talking
Well,
about technology and
I can't,
me.
I can't know for sure unless I go look in the settings. But honestly, I think let's just run with this because your screen looks
Okay.
better than mine anyway. So,
Do I look big
um,
on your end? Because on
yes,
my end, I'm tiny and you're big.
okay. I think so. I think what's going to happen is it's going to have us like side by side
Okay. Hey,
in the
that'd be
recording.
perfect. I'd like that
Yeah,
because
we'll
everybody can
see.
see you. All
I
right.
mean,
So since you're the IT guy, I've asked you to be on my podcast for multiple reasons because I'm a part of your journey and now I want you to be a part of mine. And we can explain that in a minute. But so today's episode's my very first one. It's called are you thinking about the IT business or industry? And Bryan is going to fill us in on what is the good, the bad, and the ugly of the IT industry. But first, why don't you give us some background and you can tell people kind of like why in the world you're on here with me?
oh wow. I got started in IT way back in the early 2000s,
Yes,
which
that was so long
sounds
ago.
it sounds so strange to say that now. It really
Well, I guess
does.
that is 23 years, right?
Yeah, I think my first official IT job was in 2000. Well, okay, technically, here's a little trivia.
Okay.
My first technical IT job was a summer job I had when I was in high school. I think it was my junior year. So that would have
Wow.
been 2003. But my
Wow.
first actual like career IT job was in 2007,
Okay.
right after I worked at Dell. Um, so it's and it's just been a journey since then. You know, I've been
A
very,
long
very
journey. Has it been
long
a
journey.
dawn? Has it been a dawn journey?
There was a dawn to it. I've been trying to get to the twilight of it.
There you go.
You know, it's just something I realized that it wasn't what I wanted to do with my life, and so I've been, and that's that journey in and of itself is how you and I met.
Yeah.
But it's a great. I will tell people it's a fantastic career field. It's very lucrative. It's very rewarding. There's always something to learn. Every day is new. You
That
see
sounds
some of the
good.
most. Yeah, I
'Cause
mean, you
most
see
people are
some.
bored. Most people are in a job where it's like repetitive, day in, day out. My God, I'm doing the same bloody thing over
There
and
can
over and
be some
again.
repetitiveness to it, but you're always going to get that call. You're always going to get that email. You're always going to get that ticket with some bizarre, crazy thing. And what's funny is your biggest employer is Microsoft because
Wow.
they don't know what they're doing.
Ah.
They are the worst. They are such a siloed organization that I don't think any department communicates with the other one. So
Oh,
when they push out their operating system, it's it's a mess. Windows 11's not been too bad, but it used to. So when I first started in the industry, your biggest fear was like a blue screen, what they call a blue screen of death or a B side. If you ever
right.
hear B
Yeah.
side, that's
My computer's done that a few times.
yeah. Well, now that's not what we're afraid of anymore. I what we're afraid of is every patch Tuesday that comes out where Microsoft pushes out their patches. They have broken so much stuff in the past 4 years. I have seen patches break printing. I one
Okay,
time
what is a patch? Tell people what a patch is, because you
so,
lost me already. See, you're the IT guy.
yeah,
I'm not.
yeah. So a patch, gosh, I don't even know if I know how to explain it well. A patch is basically they find something wrong with the operating system. They find like a security vulnerability or they find a feature that's not working. So they write some code to fix it and then they push it out to you.
Kind of like a
And
Band-Aid.
yeah, basically it is a
Okay.
band-aid. But the funny thing
Hence the
is
patch. Okay, I get it. Yeah, yeah.
by the time the next version of Windows comes out, you have a stack of band-aids that, you know, that tall because they don't know what they're doing. So
So that's why
uh,
they come out with a new version every time.
no, they come out with new versions just because technology changes,
Mm.
software changes. There's Windows. So when Windows 10 came out, they claimed that was going to be like the last version of Windows. They were just going to build on that. Uh, Obviously, that was a lie because now we have Windows 11, and
So
Windows 10 was a steaming pile of garbage as well.
in the
Um,
IT world, though, so it's like, okay, I'm trying to make sure I understand because it's not my field, but so you're working, and there's multiple different types of jobs, right? In the IT world, there's multiple different
oh
types of
yeah,
jobs.
oh
So
yeah,
what are a couple of different kinds of jobs, real quick? Like someone
uh,
could do if they wanted, if they were thinking about it. Like
yeah, yeah.
you could fix computers. That's one area, but you do more of the programming
Well, no, I
or
don't. But
fixing.
I've actually moved into a totally different part of the industry recently. So most people are gonna. So programming is its own thing. It's its own separate thing, and that doesn't really fall into the IT field. IT is more engineer, technician,
Oh,
that sort of thing. So most people, like 99% of people, you're going to start your career on the help desk. And on the help and look, some people don't like to hear that, but that's just the way it is. And honestly, the help desk is the best place to start for a couple of reasons. One, um, you need to make sure that you can work with people. The harshest truth I can tell you about this industry, um, it's actually ironic because there are a lot of people that go into IT that are extremely introverted and they're not social. I think what some people don't realize is IT is a very people centric business.
hmm.
Until you get years and years into your career and you become some sysadmin sitting in a server room by yourself, you're going to deal with people. If you do not love people or you cannot work with people, or you can't at least put up with it for a while, I would tell you not to go into IT because
Mm.
your first job is going to be on the help desk and all you're going to do all day long is take calls and tickets and you're going to help people.
Tickets is
Um,
like an order to fix or do something.
yeah, so
Okay.
there are different systems out there. There's a bazillion of them. There's some more popular than others, but essentially your customers will either call you and you create the ticket, or they will submit a ticket to you. And the industry has changed a lot since I got into it. Now a lot of the ticketing systems have customer portals or an email address
Mm.
you can email and open the ticket for you. Um, but the help desk is the best place to start because one, it'll teach you people skills, it'll teach you customer service skills, which are critical and important. B, it's a really great way to learn the skill of troubleshooting. Some people are more naturally adept at troubleshooting than others, but it is a skill and it can be learned and it needs to be practiced. It's a muscle you have to flex. And the help desk is a really great way to learn that.
Sounds like you would get a wide variety of things that need to be fixed. And so
oh yeah,
you would really broaden your skills significantly because you're handling random things from moment to
yes.
moment, day to day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you see a lot of repeat issues, but you also see a lot of crazy stuff you've never seen before. And I'll say this too, for the new people out there that have never done help desk that are heading that way. When I started in the help desk, there was no remote. It was very rare to have remote connections to the other person's machine.
Oh,
So
wow.
so you were doing this blind. You were asking people, what do you see on your screen? Describe to me what you see
Ugh.
on your screen. And you're either doing it with them on your computer, or you've just memorized where things are and you're walking them through it.
Oh,
So
gosh.
when you walk into your help desk job and you can remote into your customer's machine, just remember there was a time when that wasn't a thing. The first job I ever had where we had remote capabilities was actually with O'Charlie's Corporate, and we had 56K connections to the customer computers. And it was funny because the screen would actually like load in lines. So
Oh,
somebody would open something, you'd see it just load in lines on your. It was really funny, but I mean, it was great because even just sitting there waiting, I could still see what the customer had. But now everything's remote. I mean, you have RMM software that
wow.
does automated patching for you. It does audits for you. It gives you remote connections to machines. It's all done through a tiny
Which
little
makes it a
agent
lot
that.
more in lot easier. I'm saying it
Yes,
seems like
yes,
it's
it
a little bit
does.
easier because I remember the first time that I had like this weird issue with my computer after AT&T had come out and they hooked up something. I think it was the internet, something simple, and it wouldn't work. And so I'm calling and I'm like, "Ah," giving it to them, my best Karen version. And hey, it's not my daily personality, but I'm an actress. I can pretend. No, and I was fussing at them pretty good. And they were like, "Well, we're gonna go into your computer." And I'm like, "Excuse me? That seems like a violation of my privacy. What do you mean
Yeah,
we're gonna remotely go into your computer?" And they did. It like blew my mind. But of course they just and it was all fixed. I'm
yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, thank you." But then
But
I thought,
here's
how creepy.
Yeah, and here's the danger of that. Just beyond the privacy invasion, the real problem is I think there's an inherent risk for new IT professionals to become reliant on that.
Mm.
You need to know how to do it without remote. Because I mean, for example, honey, how often do you and I have to work on some tech stuff and I can't see your screen?
I
I'm having to go the
know.
old school way, and I'm having, hey, what do you see? What do you see?
And I'm like,
It's
it's this little doodaddy thing or,
Yeah.
something.
And,
Yeah.
and the only reason I can do that is because that's how my career started.
Yeah.
I know the
Well,
questions to ask.
you were down in the trenches, so to speak, and learned it the hard way, which, sometimes learn it the hard way is a good thing, but it's nice to have experts like yourself that the younger people coming up can either talk to or get advice from and learn from. Meanwhile, there's cool new toys that make it easier for everybody. So that sounds like a good bad thing. So that's a good
Here's
bad thing.
here's the harsh reality. I'm gonna get real close to my mic when I say this.
Uh-oh.
I'm old.
I'm older.
I'm not the young whippersnapper in my 20s anymore. You know what's funny is I have a friend who's in the army right now. His name's he goes by Colt. I always call him Kenny, and it drives him crazy. But hey Kenny, sorry man, I'm always going to call you Kenny. He and I have been friends for close to 20 years now, and we actually met working at Dell, and we just he's actually in Germany at the moment on a deployment. But um, I sometimes think about him, and I think, man, where has that time gone? These little
Yeah.
20-year-old kids we were back then,
Yeah.
and now we're both almost 40. He's getting near retirement from the
Oh my
military.
gosh. So almost
Yeah,
40. You're so ancient.
I know. I was talking to Julie
Cute.
last night, and I was telling her I'm 12 years away from 50, and that just feels weird.
You don't even say it like that. Who says that? Okay. So obviously, when you're an IT guy, you ponder over your age a little too much.
We have too much time to think. We're
But
all old
so
souls.
COVID has got everybody at home. Are you
Yeah.
good? Are people starting to get back in the office now?
Yeah, yeah. My company, we're still doing work from home, but a lot of people have returned back to the office. There's something to working in an office, but I don't understand why people have been so quick to go back to that. I can't help but think it's just some level of control. The work from home thing gave the power back to the worker, and I
Mm,
think the executive C-level people didn't like that, and they're like, well, the
mm.
only way we can get this back is to force them back in the office.
Well, there's always people who take advantage of things, and I could see where there's benefit for people working in the office and working from home. And if what you said earlier is true, where you have to learn how to deal with people, it's probably better to do it in an office And you got more people there to kind of bat ideas around. But then I
But
think there's always people who are just like, yeah, I'm home in my jammies and I just don't feel like working today. I'm just going to do
yeah,
nothing.
well, and auditing would show that to be the case, and you get rid of that person. I mean,
Mm.
it's
So they track you. So if you're in the IT business, they've got IT where they're tracking you, just make sure you're working.
well, uh, not necessarily. I mean, there are tools like that out there. I wouldn't want to work for an organization that's doing that, but I mean, I've heard of companies that actually they literally monitor like whether or not your mouse is moving. That tells them
Uh,
whether or not you're doing something.
oh,
But it's why spend the money on an office space if you don't need it? If you can do
yeah.
your job totally remote,
Yeah.
why spend the money? It just to me that I don't get it. No, granted, some people don't like working from home. Like when the pandemic first started, and we went work from home,
Yeah.
um, I didn't like it. I wanted to be back in the office. It just I don't have a problem working from home. It doesn't bother me, but I just preferred to be back in the office. But I've
And
been doing work.
which one do you think is better for the IT industry, working at home or working in the office? For
I,
getting, for
yeah,
getting solid training and learning and providing a quality product or problem solution
yeah.
for your customer.
That's a great question, and unfortunately, there's not a straightforward answer. It really depends on what you're doing.
Mm.
Um, with
So there are
I
different kinds of fields that,
oh absolutely, and
yeah,
and honestly, it with IT, you're always going to have to be on site at some point.
mm.
Whether
On
to re
site as the where you work or on site where your customer
or
is.
even for your customer, there are going to be times you have to go on site. So with IT, there's always going to be sort of a hybrid. You can do most support tasks from home. With remote monitoring and management software at RMM. It does a lot for you. It gives you remote access to machines. It does a lot of it does patching automation. It does auditing. It does all kinds of stuff. And you can actually integrate and tie in other tools and software stacks into it. Um, that has given you the ability to do like 98% of your job from home. But
Mm.
there are always going to be those one-offs where you need to go out and look at something. You need to go out and like let's say for example, a customer submits a ticket like their keyboard's not working or their monitor's not working. Well, you could say, okay, we'll just get a new keyboard, but you can't do that. So
Mm.
you have to decide, do I want my customer crawling on the floor,
Mm.
unplugging stuff and plugging it back in, or do I just drive out there and spend a
Been
couple
there.
minutes? Yeah. And do some quick troubleshooting to decide, is it a keyboard problem? Is it a monitor problem? So there's always going to be a reason you need to be out there. There's also a psychological aspect to this. It makes your people in your organization, your customers, there's a sense of security
Mm.
and um I don't know, security is probably the best word I can think of. There's a sense of security they feel knowing that you're there. Just
Mm-hmm.
even seeing you in the building, walking around
Mm-hmm.
doing stuff, it just makes them feel better.
You're talking about the
Um,
customer.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I can see that
Yeah,
because I have had to do my own stuff many a times where you call an IT place and they're, oh, we're busy. We'll get out in 2 weeks. I'm like, I can't wait 2 weeks. I need to help my clients
yeah,
now,
that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's
And
unacceptable.
so the companies that you've typically worked for, they're large companies and you have customers that are from what, small, large, individual. I mean, what is the typical?
So most of my IT experience has actually been with managed service providers. Um, that's it's not it's and so an MSP, managed service provider, is basically a contract IT worker.
Mm.
Companies will hire you to do their IT or to supplement their IT. You're seeing a lot more of what they call co-managed IT today, which basically it's a company, they have an internal IT department, but their expertise level may only go up to here, and
Mm.
they need somebody that knows over here.
So they
So
have an
they'll
in-house employee that knows a minimum amount of IT, who can fix some basic type of issues,
or even
and then
beyond
they call
basic,
you guys to come fix the
the
really
weird
difficult,
stuff.
the stuff that
Yeah.
they don't understand and know how to fix.
Yeah. And it's a very strange dichotomy to me. I've often wondered, I've never been in a position in IT where it was acceptable for me to be able to just call somebody else to figure it out.
Ah,
I had to rely, I either figured it out on my own or I went to somebody in my organization that was, more skilled than I was.
mhm.
I couldn't just say, you know what, I can't figure this out. I'm going to call, you know,
Call
Joe
another IT,
Schmoes. Yeah. Like
another IT company,
I've never had that luxury. So
a bigger and better one.
it always feels strange to me sometimes that there are internal IT departments, and they'll actually just, pay another company to supplement. I mean, my theory on this, and it's just a theory. I think what's happened is a lot of the people that are what I would call like tier 4 guys, so you have tier 1, which is like help desk. You have tier 2, which is, they're the ones you call when you don't know how to figure something out. Tier 3, they get like the weird stuff. They don't talk to customers much. They mainly are just like, they get a ticket. It's like, hey, level 1, level 2 techs have looked at this. We can't figure it out. Can you take a look? Tier 4 are like my boss, Bob, who is a genius, and I've never seen somebody that understands IT like he does. It's crazy. And they look at like stuff that most people would just take the computer and throw it in the trash, and he's able to fix
They're
it.
they're puzzle solvers.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
but Bob has been in the industry for a long time. So what I think has happened is I think guys like him have gotten bored working for single organizations, and it's just not a challenge to them. So they go and work for MSPs where they're dealing with multiple companies and their issues. And because of that, you get a really wide variety, because you have different
More
environments.
opportunity.
Exactly. You have
More
different environments, different technology in each of them,
Challenging.
different people, different backgrounds. So it's always something new every single day. So I think those guys who are like the tier 4 level, they've gone to work for MSPs because it's still a challenge for them. Working for like a hospital where all you have is the hospital to support, it's just not a challenge for them anymore.
Because it's the same issues over and over again, most likely.
Exactly. And, and you get to a point where the environment. So there's always going to be things out of your control that happen.
Yeah.
But you can get to the point where the environment so well, your infrastructure so well, you can really stay ahead of the game and automate things. And I mean, you can really get ahead of the game. But it's just IT is not cut and dry. It's a very multifaceted beast. And it has changed in 20 years significantly.
Well, 20 years everything. This has been really the last couple of decades. It just seemed like the decades have changed to me.
It's just not even the same industry.
Everything.
20 years ago, you could buy a computer, and as long as it worked and met your needs, there wasn't really a reason to get rid of it. And it was like that with most hardware and software.
Yeah, I think I had my very first desktop like forever, like all through college. Yeah.
That's not the case anymore.
Until it went blue screen.
Yeah. Like, the minute you get something that's out of that's what we call EOL, end of life, it immediately becomes a security risk, and you need to get rid of it. I think
they build that in now. Am I imagining that? Because why is it after about 3 to 4 years, your computer, even if you only use it a couple times a week, it's like suddenly dying on you? You're like, really? Shouldn't you have like a lot more life?
There is some planned obsolescence there. The hardware has shifted to become disposable. They actually prefer you just get rid of it and buy a new one now versus repairing it. And a good example of that is printers. Your kind of commercial. So enterprise printers, the big tall ones that, are like 5 feet tall.
Yeah, they're like $20,000 a piece.
Yeah, those you repair. Those you want to repair, but anything beneath that, they are designed to be thrown in the trash and replaced.
Yeah.
And the way to know, there's actually, and this is your people are gonna laugh when they hear this. The way to know if your printer has been designed to be repaired is whether or not you need a screwdriver. And I'll use HP as an example. HP's, the ones that are designed to be repaired, every part. So when you're dealing with laser printers, it's either the fuser, the rollers, or sometimes a transfer belt, or the toner. So it's the magic 3. It's usually the fusers, and you can tell I've been out of this for a while. The fusers, the rollers, or the toner are usually the big issue. And sometimes there's something called a transfer belt that can go bad. But with HP's machines, if they are designed to be repaired by a technician, they have these green tabs or these green buttons or these green loops that you can pull them and pull the part out, slide the new one in, you're done. The minute you need a screwdriver, that piece of hardware was designed to not be repaired. The unit was designed to be thrown in the trash. They can't be repaired. You can buy the spare parts from HP. It is more expensive at that point to repair the printer than to replace it. And that may sound crazy, but what you have to understand is HP is pricing these spare parts. They intentionally price them high because they don't want you to repair it. So by the time you buy the part, and then pay a technician to come out and fix it for you with parts and labor, you could have bought a brand new printer. And I think it's crazy, especially with all the waste we have in our world today in landfills and stuff. But that's just the way it is. That's the industry. Most consumer and low grade commercial hardware is designed to be thrown in the trash, and you buy a new one.
All right, we're getting down to the last few minutes, Bryan. Do we want to do another podcast, another thing, or do you want to sum it up?
Oh.
Tell me what the big takeaways are. Big tips. What are the big tips? Hello. Did I lose you?
Honey, you froze.
Hello? Hello? Are you still there? Hello?
Stopped. Oh, there we go. I can't hear you at all. check your
What
mic
happened?
button. Oh, there we go. I don't know. You just froze up on my end.
Oh, okay. Well, we got 4 minutes unless we want to redo it. It says still recording.
Yeah. So
okay.
What we can do.
IT.
Right. We'll just start a new one. And
okay, I've got one that's already set up.
And then we'll just tack them together. I'll walk you through how to do. We'll figure out how to get it done.
Okay. Because I got
folks, like this is the process. This is what you have to do. This is
learning. This is learning podcast. This is learning about IT. And thank God I have Bryan. All right, we'll be right back.
Okay.
Recording in progress. There it goes. All right.
Was it really 40 minutes?
Well, I think it was like 30. It says it's only for 30. It won't let me do 40. I had the option of doing 45, but I have to upgrade and pay. So
interesting. So I droned on about this boring technology stuff for half an hour.
Yeah.
I am so sorry, folks.
That's all right. We're going to cut part of it out anyway.
All the technology, basically all of my spots, just cut them out. And it's just like 30 minutes of like you talking to me with no response.
That would be hilarious. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, all right. So the good, the bad, and the ugly, the IT industry. So first tell me what is really good. Give me like all the great things, a laundry list.
Yeah. Yeah. So the goods, it's a very rewarding career.
If you like IT, if you're into it.
Yes. And honestly, it's you need to really like problem solving. You need to really like critical thinking. You need to really enjoy puzzles. Because day in and day out, that's all you're going to do.
Well, they say that people who make the most money in the world are the people who solve the biggest problems, and IT is a big problem right now. So there's big money to be had. So that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah. And it shifts, the most lucrative parts of the industry shift. Like when I was in school, it was networking, then programming became the big thing. And now cybersecurity is the most lucrative field to go into. However, that's changing. AI is actually the newest, super expensive.
It's
so,
everywhere.
if you have any high school or young college kids listening right now, AI is what you want to go into if you want to make the big bucks. However, I'm going to give you some gold advice right now.
Gold advice.
Do not go into this industry for the money. Don't go into any industry for the money. I promise you that no matter how much money you make in life, if you hate what you do, it's not worth it.
Well, you have to follow your passion. I mean,
exactly.
you have to follow your passion. And I get people all the time who, including myself, you get into a certain area or field and it's not truly what your best gifts are. And so you're never going to be 100%.
Yep. It makes you miserable. So there are those rare people that can do something they hate and it doesn't bother them.
So that's the bad, right? So the bad would be going into
that's not industry. Really no? That's not really the bad.
If you don't love it.
Yeah, you're gonna hate it if you don't love it. You either love or hate this industry. But it's the reality. I'll get to the bad. Let me finish up the good.
Okay. More good.
The reality is you have a unique skill set that allows you to help people. And every day you can go into your job knowing that you're going to make at least one person's day because they can't get their work done until you fix whatever their problem is. And so you're their hero. They may not admit it. They may not thank you. It's a pretty thankless job. Most people don't respect you. That's not true. That's kind of a misnomer. That's the cynicism that's developed for me somewhat over the years, but, the job can really jade you and make you cynical. It can. I won't lie to you. That's one of the
that's any job these days. I swear.
Yeah. But that is one of the bads.
People have gotten so selfish and all about me. My grandma always used to say there's an opinion on how to do something for every person that's on this planet. And when you're in any industry, every person has to believe that they are the the guru and everyone else needs to be following them and doing what they want. And if you're not, there's a problem. So
Yeah.
I see a lot of that attitude these days.
Just try to remember that you're a servant. You're in a servant's role, and you have the ability to help and make someone's day. And
Yeah,
that
it's a
needs to
service
be
industry. Yeah.
exactly, and that needs to be what's driving you every single day. The bad, there is some monotony to it. I would say one of the most frustrating things to deal with are there are people out there who don't think it's their responsibility. Did I say that right? Don't think it's their responsibility. I don't think I said that word right. That don't believe it's their responsibility to remember their passwords or just
That's
do the
hard to
basics.
do. There's one for every.
Well, but see, there are people. So here's the problem. Some people think it's not a big deal to not remember your passwords. What you don't understand is when you don't remember your passwords, you're a liability to your company. The help desk has better things to do than to talk to you every 90 days to reset your password because you can't be bothered to remember it.
So you're talking about the client who's
Yes.
irresponsible.
Yeah. And so here's a harsh truth, guys. The biggest security risk to your organization are your people. It's not the threat actors out there. They're taking advantage of your people. It is the responsibility of the user to make sure they educate themselves and do what they're supposed to do. And it starts with remembering your passwords. People don't have any idea, one, how frustrating it is for the technician to get calls from the same people over and over and over again. I can't remember my password. I can't remember my password. I can't. We have better things to do than reset your password. You are a grown adult. You need to remember your password.
Is that the monotony or is that the frustration on your end?
That's one of them. And that, believe it or not, that kind of stuff drives people out of the industry.
Really?
Yeah, because
they're just so sick and tired of like the same old people calling up going, what's my password?
Yeah, because that's you don't respect, you're not respecting your IT staff when you do stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, you would have no idea the number of passwords I have to remember at any given time. All kinds of admin passwords.
I won't tell anybody that you know some of mine.
but see, so it's, and I'm not trying to be harsh when I say this, but this is a perspective people don't hear.
Yeah.
Your help desk staff, they have much bigger things going on than to answer a phone call to reset your password. You're a grown adult. You need to be responsible. There are apps out there that are designed to do. I use LastPass. It's fantastic. There's Bitwarden. There's all kinds of apps out there that are designed to help you remember your passwords. And it just takes a few minutes to set them up, and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Password for the app?
There is a master password for that one, but it also uses biometric stuff.
Okay.
But I mean, but that is a bad, that's a harsh reality. Is you have people who they think it's IT's job to remember your stuff, and it's not. It's not our job. We are busy patching systems. We're busy repairing things. We're busy making sure the company doesn't get hit with ransomware, and you don't have a job at that point because the company shuts down. A great example. There was a guy, and I heard this recently. There's a local business owner in my town. He spent 25 years running his business, and he got to a place where he was going to be able to retire, I think, within like 5 years.
Oh.
His business got hit with ransomware, and it set him back $2 million. And he now has to work another 15 years to retire.
How could it? Oh, all right. That's for another conversation. All right.
But you know what? You know what puts you at risk? It's users who don't care. They open up any email they get, they click on it. They every little window they click yes, or they click it. They get an email and they just, oh, this looks interesting, and they click it. That's and businesses go down due to that behavior. It is your responsibility to make sure you understand phishing, to make sure you understand scams, to make sure you don't click on anything you see. In fact, what I would tell you is 9 times out of 10, it's probably a scammer. It's probably something malicious. I literally, I'll get emails with links in them. I will call the people that send them to me, or I'll text them. I will reach out to the person and say, hey, did you send me something with a link? My own family members. I mean, I am this cautious. My grandmother sometimes sends me messages with links over Facebook. My grandmother's account gets hacked all the time. I don't ever open the link she sends me.
Yeah.
I've never told her that, but I don't ever open the link she sends me because I automatically assume her account's been hacked. I will literally call people. I will literally text people and say, hey, did you send me something with a link in it? You have to be that cautious today. And the other harsh reality is ransomware as a service is a thing now. It is getting, they're getting more and more sophisticated, and they're getting smarter, and it's taking more and more effort and more education and more technology to stay ahead of the game.
Mm.
It literally, it's a war. You know, my boss would tell you we're at war every single day, and it's true. You're literally at war. Breaches are a thing that happens. So, you know, we have to stay, it's our responsibility as IT staff to stay ahead of the game. So when you understand that every day we're trying to keep the organization afloat, think about that when you choose not to remember your password, or you need a pass. You know, everybody forgets their passwords, right? I've done it before, but there are people I call frequent flyers, people that I can literally say to you, I will talk to you in 90 days, because I know they're going to call me in 3 months when their password expires and get me to reset it again. Guys, we have better things to do than to do that for you. You know, so that's the bad and the ugly, stuff like that.
All you potential IT people, be prepared.
Yeah, you got it.
For your annoying clients who cannot remember their passwords.
Yeah, you
got to have your annoying friends like me who can't remember her passwords.
It's you do have to have a bit of a thick skin, because then you get people that are just ticked off. You know, something's not working the way it should, and they're mad.
It's frustrating, man. I tell you what, it makes me want to just scream and throw the thing out in the yard. That's the only time in my life I ever feel like a golfer who's mad. You know, when they throw their clubs, like, ah.
And I'll tell you a secret. I feel the same way. You know, like when you're mad, I'm usually mad too, believe it or not, because I'm frustrated as well. So here's the other reality. These people, they have a job to do. Okay. And they have deadlines. They're under the gun, and their piece of technology, their tool that's supposed to make their job easier, is not working. So they're pissed off. They're mad. They're frustrated. They're calling you. Your job is to help them, and they're probably going to vent on you. They're probably going to take their frustration out on you. Now, it is your job as a IT technician to know that it's not directed at you. You don't need to take it personally. It's not your fault. They're a human being with feelings and emotions, and they're frustrated.
Is there training for how to deal with the crazy people calling angry? Because I know, like I said earlier, there's been a time or two when I've been the Karen, you know, and I hate to admit it, but you know, you're just so fed up, and they send you like 9 people. Well, Joe doesn't know how, so let's send you to Bill.
Yeah, that's the downside to bigger organizations and their support staff. But I've never personally taken any kind of training like that. It's just common sense. It's being a good person. I mean, it's the servant's heart at the end of the day. Look, I mean, like, I'm giving you, like, I just revealed a piece of my heart in this industry that I don't tell people. The people I get frustrated with. But the reality is, my job is to help even those people, and they're frustrated and they're struggling, and not everybody knows it like I do. That's an unfair expectation to have. They have other things they need to know. They have other things they need to pay attention to. You have the opportunity to let this person vent on you, and then make their day, fix their problem, be their hero. That's, so
you kind of have to just kind of let it roll off of you, and while you're just fixing the problem, turn down the volume while they're complaining.
So if I was going to interview someone for an IT job, depending on what the position is, the first thing I'm looking for in them is not their technical ability. The first thing I'm looking for in them is, how do they deal with people? You know, one question I'll ask you is, you have an angry customer that calls you, what do you do? And the answer I'm looking for in that question, I was asked that by a boss many years ago, and I've never forgotten this. The answer to that question is, you listen. Just shut up and listen. Let them vent.
Good tip.
Let them vent. Let them get it out, and put a smile on your face and say, hey, you know what? I know you are frustrated right now, but I have some good news. I can help you. Let's get you back on the road.
Those are magic words. Those are magic words, because I know, you know, when I've called AT&T or this, that, and the other, and they've put, you know, now I'm talking to the 9th person, and I've been on the phone for 2 hours, and I am done. I'm done. And when that guy finally gets on there and goes, I know exactly what your problem is. Hang on. And you go, oh my God, you know, Santa Claus has delivered. You know, finally that person. Oh my God.
Those are the people that care. What I hate, what frustrates me, because I have to call tech support sometimes. The couple of things I've noticed, a lot of tech people, they want to get you off the phone and pass you off to somebody else. I've talked to way too many organizations that they do everything in their power to put it off on you or put it off on somebody else. They just don't want to do their jobs. I have never worked a job where I could do that, I would get fired
Mm,
immediately for that behavior. But I see it all the time, and it makes me so mad.
yeah.
Another tip for IT people: be an advocate. You're an advocate for your client.
Mhm.
You need to treat them like family. You need to look at them as family. Don't let them be treated that way. If you have to get on the phone with that other support company with them and tell those people, hey, this is not acceptable. I have literally been on the phone with my client with another support staff, and I've given them the what for. I've been very assertive. I was not friendly. And I called them out on the BS. I called them out on the behavior. And I said, this is unacceptable. You're jacking us around. This is not my issue. This is your issue. And I explained to them why it's their issue. And I'm like, I am not going to take this. I'm not going to accept this. This is not good customer service. You got to call them out on it, and you got to force them to do their job. It's just an unfortunate reality. But that's nothing. Like, so honestly, guys, as goofy as this sounds, as cheesy as this sounds, as an IT engineer, you have the ability to be a hero. You can be an advocate. You can make someone's day. You can be a psychiatrist to someone just by listening to them and just saying, hey, I understand. Let me help you. Like, every day you go into work, you have the opportunity to be someone's hero. And that's the attitude you have to.
Red coat, a little red cape.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, if it helps, like, but that's the attitude you have to strive to maintain, because I'll tell you, there will be people that will try you because you're a human being.
Yeah, because it's so frustrating, and it takes a certain personality to understand and want to be in the IT industry, period. It's a different personality. It's not your everyday personality.
It's a certain way of thinking. It's a certain way of approaching things.
And I think that personality typically is not the person that's, like you said, gifted with the patience and the listening skills, and the socialization, skills that are needed to have to deal with people all day.
Yeah.
So those are some good things to take into consideration if you're looking into getting into this industry.
Exactly. And therein lies the problem. And guys, this is something there will be people who disagree with me potentially, but I'm telling you right now, if you do not like people, if you do not like dealing with people, and if you cannot deal with people, you need to find another career path. I don't care how much you like technology or how much you think you like technology or fixing things. Unless you're going to go make $15 an hour sitting in a room repairing computers the rest of your life, you're going to have to deal with customers. You're going to have to deal with people. So the first thing you need to reconcile in your mind, and this is a harsh reality, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I will tell college students this. If you're going to go into IT, you need to understand that this is a customer-centered business.
Yeah.
This is a people-focused
like working
industry.
at Chick-fil-A.
Yes, you will never escape that. Even as the top tier system admin guy, at some point, a customer is going to cross your path. In fact, you're probably going to be dealing with the CEO in that position. He's not going to want to talk to the tier one staff. He's going to want to talk to you because he knows that you're the top guy. So you will never, ever escape people in this industry. So if you can't handle talking to people, I'm sorry, you need to find a new career path.
Yeah. So you can't just be that guy in the basement who's, working on playing around on computers. It would take a certain type of job, but not.
Yeah, you'll never make more than $15 an hour. You'll be the guy that works in the back lab, putting parts and PCs. And look, that's fun to do. Yeah. But that doesn't require a lot of skill, and your pay is going to reflect that. If you want to make six figures, if you want to get up in the 50s, 60s, 90s, hundreds, you're getting into the sysadmin realm, you're getting into the cybersecurity realm, and you're going to have to deal with people. That's just the reality.
Yeah. I have a friend who actually works in the cyber area, and he gets paid the big bucks. But he works for government, so he gets good hours, but he gets the big bucks. But I tease him all the time and say, oh, so are we being hacked by this country or that? And he laughs and giggles and says, we're being hacked by every country.
All the time. It never stops.
Never ends.
And that's why you have to stay ahead of the game. Like so I'm in business development now. I actually don't even do support anymore.
That's a recent development though, right? You're pretty much.
Yes. Yeah.
You just switched jobs because it is monotonous, and you were looking for, that next step.
It's just not what I enjoyed. And that's why, I try to warn people, like, look, IT
You're
is
a people person, no doubt. You love people.
I love people. I love dealing with people. Yeah. I don't like troubleshooting. I don't like doing that stuff. I just got to where I didn't enjoy it anymore. It is not a 9 to 5 job. They're going to be after hours. There's going to be calls at 2 a.m. that there's been a
Mm.
breach in the network. There's going to be, it is not a 9 to 5 job. So that's
Oh
why I
my
tell you,
gosh.
if you don't enjoy it, don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're paying you 150 grand a year. Every Monday, every Saturday you have to work. Like let's say in an ideal world, you work Monday through Friday. Your job is still waiting on you on Monday.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to spend 40 to 60 hours, even 80 hours that week doing it.
Well, that's good advice, no matter who or what you're going into, because if you're not madly in love with what you're doing, if it's not your passion, if you don't dream about it, wake up about it, think about it constantly, it's not something you should be doing anyway.
The idea, so the ideal IT guy, honestly, is Donnie.
Oh, your friend Donnie, yeah.
Yeah, Donnie's and let me tell you what.
But no one knows who Donnie is. Who's Donnie? Donnie's your bud.
Donnie, he's basically my brother. We're so close. We're basically brothers. But he's one of my roommates as well. He's the sweetest, kindest guy you'll ever meet. But Donnie is an ideal IT guy for a couple of reasons. One, he likes people. He can deal with people. He's really good with people, and he's patient. His patience level is
he's extremely laid back.
He's extremely laid back.
Yeah, I've seen him. Yeah.
But here's the other thing though. He has a passion for this stuff. He'll all the time send me texts or come up to me, dude, have you seen the latest like Ryzen processor that's coming out of the latest IT, or the latest Intel i7? I'm like, honestly, man, I don't care.
I'd be like, is that Chinese? What?
It's not Chinese to me. I understand it all, but it's I just don't care. It doesn't like Donnie every day he's reading articles about the latest, the latest AMD.
But that's how you get good at something. I was friends with a professional football player that I won't mention his name at the moment, but I loved him.
We all know it's Joe Namath.
No, he's too old for me. He wears pantyhose.
Wait, what? Really? Does he really?
Didn't you ever see him in that ad? Okay, another time. But anyway, Joe Namath. Yeah. I think he's the one that did that ad where he wore pantyhose, like for Hanes or something. But anyway, it was weird. But it was like the 70s. But I was really good friends, I guess you would call it, with a professional football player. And I loved him to death, loved being around him. Could have fallen madly in love with him easily. But all he talked about was football. And I mean, morning, noon, night, everything was football. And that's why he was so amazing. That's why he's playing, in the NFL. That's why he was making millions and millions of dollars. But he was so passionate about it, the man couldn't think of anything else. I mean, he'd be scrambling eggs talking about this play and that. And I'm like, oh my God, no, I can't live with this all day long.
Believe it or not, that was actually the thing that started to make me realize that I wasn't doing what I was called to do, because I didn't care. Like I used to,
your heart wasn't in it anymore.
Yeah. I used to get I used to nerd out on like servers and being in server rooms and things like that. But it got to a point.
You can get burnt out pretty easily, it sounds like, in this job, in the IT world.
I wouldn't use me as an example. I feel like I'm kind of an outlier because, so the reality is it took me about 2 weeks to figure out what I want to talk to Honey about for this podcast, because
now supposed to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. We've digressed like 400 times.
Hey, that's just the way you and I are. So
I know, right?
Because I'm actually more of a film guy now, and I've been pursuing that, and I do sales for my company.
Yes.
And Honey's actually,
but the IT part kind of flows into that whole
it does.
In film industry too.
It does to some degree. It's helped me some, but I realized, so I'm more of a right brain person, and most IT people are very left brained.
Yeah.
So
right is creative, left is logical.
And I'm not saying this to my horn. Let me be clear, because I'm not the world's brightest guy. I'm smart enough to do it, but when you look at me versus my coworkers, it comes to them way easier than it does me. So like anytime somebody calls me an IT expert, I feel like I get imposter syndrome, because I'm not. Like,
okay,
there's a ton I don't know.
Never mind. We're going to cut Bryan now. No more Bryan talk. He's not the expert.
Just put expert in quotation marks and we'll be
cut.
Yeah. But I realized it just wasn't what I was passionate about. And like, I've had to deal with a lot of health stuff early on in my life. And that's kind of helped me to see how precious and short and fragile life is. And I realized I don't want to spend 40 plus hours a week of my life hating what I do.
No.
And I spent a good deal of time beating myself up over it, because I look at my grandfather, who I'm still very lucky to have with me. The man worked 2 jobs his whole life, and they were not glamorous jobs. And he was content and happy to even have a job so he could take care of his family. And I'm like, why in the world am I not like that? Why can I not just do this very lucrative job?
Well, it's a different time, back in those days.
Yeah.
It was a different time. But okay.
But it makes me feel petulant, like it makes me feel like a spoiled, petulant person.
Well, but isn't society kind of gone down that path? Okay. So we talked about the good. We talked about some of the bad. So the super ugly is
the super ugly is this industry has the it's weird to talk about. I wouldn't normally talk about this stuff, but it's good for people to know this. This industry has it has a way of turning people very jaded and very cynical. And most IT professionals you meet, if you get kind of in their circle and you get close to them, they have a very negative view of people. After a while, they just get a very cynical view of humanity. It's the same with medical professionals. It's the same. I mean, there's a lot of industries that it becomes that way because in some degrees you're seeing the worst in people. And that feels weird to say because it's not like you're doing law enforcement. It's not like you're, a doctor and you're dealing with like people who can't take care of themselves. And it's like, guys, it's obvious how to, but you see a lot of just blatant irresponsibility, a lot of blatant negligence. And it's like, this is not rocket science. This is simple stuff. Why can't you figure this out? You get that you get that mentality. And it frustrates you.
Well, everybody has a different way of thinking and processing things. And I know what's simple to some people isn't to others because, I have people come into my office and I'm thinking, oh my God, this is like just easy peasy. And they're totally confused. They're totally lost. And I have to think, okay, it's just not their wheelhouse. But all right. So the good, the bad, and the ugly with Bryan.
That's the real ugly. It can really turn you cynical and jaded and give you a very negative view of humanity. And that's why it's so, and this is what I'll end it with. That's why it's so critical. Actually, I have one more thing I want to say too after this. That's why it's so critical that you have a passion for what you're doing and that you love people, because you have to really steel yourself and guard yourself against that. One last thing, anybody that wants to get into IT, I was lucky enough to had a friend that I had no idea how to break into the industry, and he took me under his wing and showed me. If you want to get into IT, this is $1 million advice. Here's how you do it. You can be in it within 3 to 6 months, depending on the effort you put into it. Get a certification. I would recommend you start with the A+. So there's like the magic triangle certifications. You have the A+, the Network Plus, and the Security Plus. Those are CompTIA certifications. COMPTIA. Those are vendor neutral industry standard certs. People will tell you they're not respected. That's a lot of baloney. They are. It's and when HR staff are looking for people to interview, they're running keyword searches on Indeed or some other website. You need to have keywords in your resume. They're going to make your resume pop up so you need to know, you need to know what you're talking about. The A+ is like the beginner. Here's what a motherboard is. Here's what a processor is. Here's what the North and the South bridge are. It's all the basics of networking and hardware and software. Then get your Network Plus. That goes into all the stuff on, PIP addresses and subnetting and things like that. Like that's the Network Plus covers a lot of the more advanced networking stuff. But again, it's vendor neutral. It's one of the beautiful things about it. Security Plus gives you, a lot of your fundamentals with cybersecurity. You're getting your A+ will usually get your foot in the door at a company doing the help desk stuff. And then while you're at a company doing help desk, pursue other certifications. Now, once you get the Magic 3 or maybe get the A+ Network Plus, then you want to start looking at more advanced certifications like your Cisco certs or your AWS certifications, the Amazon Web Services. There's a lot of money in AWS right now.
Well, why don't you provide me with the information and links, and I'll put it down in the description.
Yeah, I'll see my for that. But like, there are a lot of people who just don't know how to break into the industry. It's literally that simple. Get a certification, update, look at how to write an IT resume, and then put it on Indeed and start applying for jobs. And if you put the effort in, you can be in the IT industry in 3 to 6 months.
That's pretty fast. And making good money in 3 to 6 months, like really good money. Even at entry level, you're probably what, make it 40, 30, 40?
You're probably most of your help desk jobs are going to start out at, 15 to 20
bucks an hour.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's okay. I mean, 6 or 7 years ago, that was decent money, but today it's not.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
especially depending on where you live.
We're running out of time again, Bryan.
We're down to 10 minutes.
So, all right. So we're going to wrap this up. It's been such a pleasure as always chatting with you, Bryan. You and I could talk all day long. Absolutely. Right. So
I hope I've not been too negative.
No. So, okay. So this is my first podcast. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Yeah.
And it's such a cool idea. When you told me about this, I thought this was a really neat idea.
Yeah, we'll see. I know there's a lot for me to learn, and I've got a good friend who's a podcaster. So why don't you give us your podcast information so people can find you on your podcast?
Yeah, heck yeah. So I have 2 podcasts. The first one I started, it's called That Other Interview Show. It's I interview actors mainly, just people in the film industry. My other one is actually an entrepreneurship based podcast. It's called Your Business Here. Awesome. I do it for the company I work for. And that one is geared towards educating and inspiring the next generation of entrepreneur through the wisdom of people like Honey. Actually, I'm trying to get Honey on as a guest. People who have started businesses and have been successful in running them. Awesome. I'm interviewing them and I'm asking them, how do you do what you do? How did you start your business? Give us your 11 herbs and spices on succeeding in the business world. So
that's right.
That one's been really fun. I've got 4 episodes out now. I've got several more in the pipe. I've got a really cool guy who actually does training materials for cybersecurity stuff. He's coming on as a guest. Awesome. I've got a guy who owns a business here in Knoxville who actually is a former fighter pilot as well. And I met him because he was flying a P-51 around Knoxville. Cool. He's coming on as a guest. So some really cool stuff in the pipeline on that one.
Well, I'm excited. I look forward to seeing and hearing more from Bryan, the IT guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, since I'm new, this is the best I've got for today. I'm Honey Gregory, and this is Perpetual Learning. And I hope you learned something today. And I look forward to you guys, I don't know, watching some future, what do you call it? YouTube's. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at
send
this,
her,
right?
Send her suggestions in the comments on what you want to learn about.
Comments below. What's the other ones? Hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And I look forward to learning perpetually with you in the future. Thanks. I'm Honey Gregory, and this has been my guest, Bryan Parkerson. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Honey.
See you later. Bye.